Lies of P is one of the more recent installments in the Souls-like genre with some pretty new interesting mechanics and a new interesting world to explore. At the time of this recording, Lies of P is about 3 months old, and I just got around to playing it because I've been busy with college. I've sank about 15 hours into the game so far. I haven't beat it yet, but here are my thoughts. I'm going to let you guys know if you should buy this game or if you should save your money. So let's go ahead and start with the most obvious. This is a Souls-like game. It is going to be extremely challenging. Something that I actually really like that Lies of P does pretty well is it does a good job at kind of easing you into the difficulty of this game. I found the early game of this game to be pretty easy, I'm not gonna lie. I blew through it pretty fast and I was like, oh, this game is not as hard as everybody says it is. And then, you get to like mid-game and it starts to ramp up in difficulty by a big margin. And I think that's something the developers did extremely well in this game. I find with most Souls games, it's pretty hard in the early game, and it can be extremely difficult for new players to kind of get into the game just because, they can't get past that first early game area, and it's too confusing. They often put the game down. Lies of P is really good at holding your hand for, the first little bit. So if you're new to Souls-like games and you're kind of worried that you're going to get that same feeling from Lies of P that you've had with other Souls games where you're confused in the beginning of the game and you just find yourself putting it down because you can't really keep up with it, Lies of P is actually really good at making sure that doesn't really happen for you. I feel like it does a great job at explaining the story, all of the items, the purpose. You basically get a good understanding and foundation of how you're supposed to play the game and how you're supposed to level up and all of that good stuff. Now, Lies of P isn't your typical RPG Souls-like game where you're going to be making your own mage or own warrior or whatever like that. Basically, you play as the main protagonist, but there is a lot of customization with the main protagonist. You can play as different classes. I thought that was really cool because it adds a certain layer of replayability to this game with all the different builds and weapons you can play through the game with. There's also a ton of different options with costumes you can unlock. They're not microtransactions, don't worry. You can get a ton of cosmetics from just beating bosses in this game, which is another layer of customization I like. And the armor in this game is done really cool because basically you're a puppet, so the armor is separate parts. So anything cosmetic has no attributes basically. So every outfit that you see people wearing or you see yourself wearing, it's not, affecting your skills in any way, which is something I like just because you can always be dripped out. And like I said before, it's no microtransactions in this game. So I really like that. Now let's go ahead and talk about performance and graphics. So the gameplay you are watching is recorded on PS5. The graphics in this game are actually amazing. It puts Unreal 5 to great use. This game uses Unreal Engine if you guys aren't familiar. And another game I want to compare it to that's a Souls-like also is Lords of the Fallen, okay? Lords of the Fallen also uses Unreal 5 and they have a lot of performance issues. In Lies of P though, Lies of P is super smooth. It is actually so crispy. I have had no performance issues on PS5 in this game. It looks super good. I make that comparison to Lords of the Fallen because Lords of the Fallen came out around the same time as Lies of P, and they're both the same genre of game. They are both Souls-likes and they both use Unreal Engine 5. Lords of the Fallen has a ton of performance issues still even to this day, and Lies of P does not have any performance issues whatsoever in my opinion. I did not see anything here that can be marked off as a performance issue. It was smooth, it was buttery, the animations were clean. It just looks so much better than Lords of the Fallen. I don't want to compare it to other games too much just because I don't want to take away from anything either game has done, but Lords of the Fallen is a great comparison to make here. And if you guys have played Lords of the Fallen in 2023, you guys know what I'm talking about, and if you are worried about that in Lies of P, I promise you it is not here. Adding on to the graphics, the art style here is actually incredible. All of the designs for the world and the levels and the bosses and the enemies, it's so creative, bro. And that's something that I think a lot of Souls games miss. I think that they miss a lot of creativity. A lot of people compared this game to Bloodborne. A lot of people thought this was going to be a Bloodborne copy of sorts. That was definitely an assumption I made going into this. I was assuming it's going to be like a Bloodborne copy, you know, just because of the whole steampunk aesthetic. But honestly, this game does a really good job at separating itself from a game like Bloodborne. Like, it's entirely creative on its own. Like, some of the bosses in this game are just absolutely insane. Like, they're so unique. I never saw any bosses that were like similar to other Souls games. No enemies were similar to other Souls games. And I bring that up just because I feel like whenever you're playing a Souls-like game, it's always like your basic, oh, you're fighting like some demon with an axe or whatever. Like, you know, it's always like some similar enemy that you've seen in a From Software game, I feel like. That was something, once again, I saw in Lords of the Fallen. But in Lies of P, bro, like, the world here and the boss creativity is so unique, and it's honestly amazing. It's a completely unique experience, and that's why I love it so much. If you're going to compare the art style of this game to any other game, it's going to be BioShock Infinite, which, you know, honestly is super, super cool. It's like basically the world of BioShock Infinite put into a Souls-like game, which is honestly something I love. Moving on, I want to applaud Lies of P for the story. So something I see a lot of Souls-like games do, and even I see From Software do, is that they keep the story like super, super vague. And, you know, whenever you play those games through for the first time, you don't really get a conclusion. You're just kind of like left confused. Lies of P does a good job at explaining the story. And, you know, I understand that in Lost Fantasy games, in the Soul style genre, where you have like, you know, a lost world and you just get dropped into this open world and whatever, the story is supposed to be vague. However, I feel like it is lazy, and Lies of P really, really proved itself here with an amazing story, just because the voice acting is amazing. You get great cutscenes. It's easy to follow. It's easy to understand. And I really, really like that. That way you feel invested to continue in the game even when you are presented with absolutely brutal challenges. This game also has multiple endings from my understanding, and you're presented with many different choices throughout the game, which once again adds more replayability through it, and I think it's actually insane, and I love it so much, bro. So yeah, if you guys couldn't tell, I'm a huge fan of Lies of P. I think this game is actually incredible. I'm sitting here trying to think of something negative to say about this game, but I just can't, bro. Like, this game is actually polished. It's amazing. It has a great story. It's a really fun Souls-like. And honestly, this is probably like top 3 favorite Souls-likes for me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this is one of my favorite Souls-like games, and I think this is better than some From Software games. I would say my only pet peeve with this game is like the dodging. The dodging isn't really good in this game, but I mean, you're not really supposed to dodge. It really encourages you to use a more parry and blocking playstyle, which is okay. Me personally, I like playing Souls games, you know, by dodging and everything. Lies of P doesn't really let you dodge like that, but honestly, that's just like a game design choice. I don't really think that's something to nitpick on here. This game is challenging, but it's also why I like it. This game is really, really frustrating, especially mid to late game, bro. But that's what makes it satisfying to complete, because you get invested into this great story, and then, you know, you have to overcome these challenges, and it feels like a reward getting to the end of the game, or, you know, getting close to the end of the game. I haven't beat the game, but I'm super invested in the story, and I really, really like the challenge, and, you know, the customization, the replayability, everything here. It's so great, bro, and it's honestly one of the best Souls-like games, especially in 2023, bro. I think that Lies of P is probably a Game of the Year candidate in my mind. So yes, this game is absolutely worth your money, okay? It's not even full price, it's $60. I think that this game is actually incredible, and to make things even better, this was a small studio that developed this, so good for them, bro. I hope they go on and do great things. Lies of P is great in my opinion. I hope that they make like a sequel to this, or they make another game that's similar to it. This game was a lot of fun, bro. I highly recommend it. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this review. Drop a comment down below letting me know what you guys think of Lies of P. Do you guys love it? Do you hate it? Do you want your money back? Let me know. Just be ready for a challenge if you're going to buy this game. That's all I'm going to say, bro. This game is pretty difficult, but it's great, bro. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.